Bartell City Council voted to extend tax increment financing to a proposed townhome development. The 38-unit, $7.5 million development could start early this year. The campus branch will be located at the Mayo Scottsdale campus just east of Phoenix. The City Council will be discussing what options they have about hiring a private security company. The Stearns County deputies were called to the scene of a car crash yesterday near Rockville. The driver was 19-year-old Philomena Wordish. The Tri-County Humane Society has been in St. Cloud for over 25 years. But what they need most of all?
Volunteers are the backbone of our society here. We have probably 22 staff and about 300 volunteers. So, but they do all kinds of different things, though. They aren't all just coming down to the shelter to help take care of the animals. They are helping with fundraisers. They're doing work outside of the shelter. They're taking animals to different locations to do adoptions. There's just a real variety of opportunities out there to volunteer at the shelter.
It's just a big group of everybody where they go through the information, everything that you need to basically know about becoming a volunteer. And then if you are still interested in becoming a volunteer, they will ask you to call back within a week or so then they can set up a training. And then you'll sit in a class for about an hour to 2 hours to go through the training. They'll tell you what you got to do with each animal, and they'll tell you exactly what you've got to do with everything, and then you're ready to go.
This right here is Demi. And as you can see, she's a sweetheart. She's really docile. And most of the dogs here and cats are just sweethearts. They just need homes.
I called that morning and I reserved her, and I took her home that exact same day.
Reporting from St. Cloud, DeMario, Thornton, UTVS News, your news. With over 2 decades of experience, more specifically in sex crimes, Stearns County Attorney Janelle Kendall gives her views of the county's most infamous as well as unprecedented rape case.
This is one of the most violent sex crimes I've seen in 21 years in the business, and that was my area of expertise as a line attorney, was sex crimes. In 2005 and 2006, we said, look, we're locking these people up for 12 years, 15 years, and very commonly prosecutors and victims are before judges saying that's not long enough. This person is so dangerous, what they've done is so bad, there's no way that the public can be protected but for incarceration in this case.
4 counts of criminal sexual conduct in the first degree are the charges that the grand jury decided to indict James Bryson with late Tuesday night. All counts either causing great bodily harm or personal injury to the victim. Now, grand jury proceedings are mostly used for homicides because of the severity of the cases. But in this case, this marks the first time in Stearns County history where a sex case was tried before a grand jury.
In the most heinous offenses, and I use that word intentionally because that's the word that the legislature used, where there are additional factors involved, such as torture, which was one of the factors that the grand jury looked at in this case. 30 years may not be long enough to protect the public from this offender. So the legislature gave us the option that if we wanted to look at a life sentence, which might be with parole or without parole, we need to talk to a grand jury about that the same way we would in a homicide.
This right here is the tennis court where the suspect Keywan Johnson and his accomplice had planned to meet their dealer for a pound of marijuana. But authorities say that he got a little bit more than what he had bargained for.
One of our officers sitting in his squad car, all of a sudden his phone rings. This particular officer, when he gets a call, incoming call that he doesn't recognize, he doesn't identify himself as a police officer, he just stated his last name. It was Officer Orbeck. And when he answered the phone, the guy asked him, hey, who is this? And he said, who's this? And the guy apparently had dialed the wrong number, was trying to get a hold of somebody else. And he proceeded to ask the officer if he could get a pound of marijuana.
The suspect, 21-year-old Keywan Johnson, decided to meet the officer at a local tennis court on the corner of 11th Street and 15th Avenue South. But he also brought along a friend, 27-year-old Stephen Ray Hendricks.
So the second suspect that was actually had an opportunity to get away actually came across a 16-foot fence. So they stopped him there. The second suspect was seen then attempting to get rid of type items of property, which were later identified as a small amount of marijuana, and then over $3,000 in counterfeit $20 bills.
Now, Sergeant Sarah says that due to the small amount of marijuana that the men actually had on their possession, they could have been let go with just a petty misdemeanor. And in the state of Minnesota, that doesn't have any jail time. But due to the fact that they had over $3,000 of counterfeit money, they could face anywhere up to 15 years in jail. Now, UTVS News will keep you posted on any unfolding events in this story. Reporting from St. Cloud, DeMario, Thornton, UTVS News, your news. She has attended and taught at some of the world's most prestigious institutions, worked for NASA, had her paper accepted to Cambridge University, and even traveled from the streets of South Africa to the bus systems of St. Cloud, Minnesota. But now she's making a difference on the campus of St. Cloud State University.
Since I've been here, we now have a National Society of Black Engineers chapter on our campus, and we got a lot of students interested, and some of them will be going with me to Washington along with the women engineering students. And this is something our university can be really proud of, that we're doing a lot of things with STEM. And also I have an annual STEM summit. Students will get to experience this, and this is going to be like my grand opening to have all these students here, and then we'll open it up with a welcome and have her do a show for 30 minutes, and then it'll go around to all these exhibits on hands-on experience, and then I'm going to pass out these T-shirts that I just designed for the for the students.
And I bet you know where everything is on this day.
Exactly.
Don't you? You know where everything
And
is.
how did you guess?
Because I'm like that too.
I went back and got my emails, found where I had everything confirmed, and said this was confirmed